They say some houses don't grow old with time. They just grow quiet. And then, one night, that silence turns into a scream. This is the story of a woman who walks in the dark, and a man who heard her footsteps but never saw her face. It happened in the winter of 2018. Chris, a photographer, left the noisy life of New York behind. He wanted peace, quiet, and a place where the world wouldn't follow him. A real estate agent showed him an old white house, standing alone at the edge of a small town in Virginia. A dying tree in the yard, broken steps on the porch, and walls that seemed to remember every whisper ever spoken inside them. The agent smiled and said, "It's cheap because the last tenant disappeared." Chris laughed. "I'm not afraid of ghosts. I'm afraid of bills." That evening, he moved in. The first night was calm, but around 11, when the whole house drowned in darkness, he heard footsteps, slow, deliberate, moving across the wooden floor downstairs. He thought it was the wind, but when the sound came again, he got up and went to check. The front door was locked. The hall was empty, but the air felt colder, as if someone had just passed by. When he returned to his room, there were fingerprints on the window glass. On the outside. The next morning, he met a neighbor, an old woman named Amy. Her face was pale, her eyes sharp but tired. When she learned Chris had moved into the White House, her smile vanished. "If you ever hear footsteps at night," she said softly, "don't look." Chris laughed. "You really believe in those stories?" Amy whispered, "She walks only in the dark. If you turn on the light, she stops." That night, the same sound returned. One step, two, three. Someone was climbing the stairs. Chris turned on his phone's flashlight. The sound stopped. He turned it off. It started again. He went downstairs. The floor was wet. Bare footprints led from the hallway straight to the basement door. The door was closed. Behind it, he heard breathing, slow, heavy breathing. He froze, then ran back upstairs and locked his door. In the morning, he forced himself to open the basement. Inside were old chairs, torn pictures, and a pair of worn-out women's shoes. That night, Chris sat at his desk, editing photos he had taken of the house. When he zoomed in on one of them, he saw something, a shadow, standing behind the window. It was the shape of a woman, long hair covering her face. He deleted the picture immediately, but the next morning, the same photo appeared back on his desktop, and the shadow was closer. By the fifth night, he'd had enough. He wanted proof. He turned off all the lights, set up his camera, and waited. At exactly 3 a.m., the footsteps came again. Slow, careful, coming up the stairs. The shadow moved under the door. Then silence. A cold breath touched his neck, and a voice whispered, "This is my house." Chris switched on the light. The room was empty, but in the camera recording, a woman in a white dress was standing behind him. The next morning, he went to Amy's house. The door was open, but the place was empty. On the wall hung an old photograph, the same woman from his footage. Under it, a name written in fading ink. Margaret, missing since 1962. Amy wasn't a neighbor. Amy had died years ago. She was part of the same story, part of the same house. Chris ran outside, desperate to leave. But at the door stood Amy. Same face, same dress, eyes hollow, skin pale as paper. "You turn on the light," she said. Now she's seen you. Chris turned around. In the doorway, a woman in a white dress stood in the dark, her feet not touching the ground. He screamed. Then silence. Chris was never found. The house still stands on that quiet street in Virginia. And people say, if you pass by at 3 a.m., you can hear footsteps. Not one pair. Two. Because now, she doesn't walk alone. Don't forget to like our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates.